Greetings and welcome. I'm PsychicMediumRoberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. Happy Sunday if you watch in real time. We are guided and blessed by Spirit if we want, and I remain humble in the presence of Spirit and vigilant in the face of evil. Trigger warning: the subject matters of a mature nature and deals with the dark side of life, unfortunately, and crimes, and unfortunately crimes against children. Disclaimer: all cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. So we are starting the recording of Intuitive Sundays, episode 11, and I might still need these pictures. I've got a sense of what I'm going to be doing, but I just want to start off by saying, of course, the past few episodes, as far as the channel goes, and of course what we are seeing playing out in the West Coast, treachery abound, and a lot of, on face value, there's big issues. Trucks waiting to put out the fire, but the bill wasn't paid, or there wasn't a funds to put water in the hydrants, and I believe I heard another journalist saying the reserves were sent off somewhere else. It happened in South Africa as well. Well, not happened, but South Africa, for example, provides water and electricity to surrounding countries, neighboring countries. So it's not unusual, one could say, that a municipality is loaning assets, liquid assets, to the next colony or the next county or whatever it may be. But California is prone to wildfires, which in my own personal capacity always... Okay, so every year this time, this is what happens in California. But this time, something is very odd about this one. Now, I did a bit of digging, and unfortunately, let's deal with this one first. And the reason why I say unfortunately is we're going to go a little bit deeper into the Pizzagate saga. So here's the gentleman here, Edgar Madison Welch. Now, I just Googled now, it says died 06 Jan 2025. I found another multiple sources saying shot on the 4th. But be that as it may, let's say, for example, if it, in my previous reading, I listed it as the 4th, right? Which is over here. Now, if it is the 6th and not the 4th, so we're going to balance, we're going to look at both. In January the 4th, it's linked to the day the fire actually started, where we see the pedophilia number, Pizzagate, right? If it's January the 6th, everything still applies. In fact, it actually gets a little bit more treacherous in that it still registers as, in my case, like a hit. If it was January the 6th, a hit. There's operational numbers in the +3. And there is the pedo children numbers, exactly what we see in CA's numbers. The +6 action, we see the 13-4s, 22-4, 13-4 children numbers. And then in the +9, we've got the pedos, 15-6. 16-7 is the carrying out the hit. Because you'll note in California's details, 25 outcome 7 in the day, hidden, and a 16-7 in the day. And if it is the 6 in the +9, we see the exact same numbers, 25-7, 16-7. And by the way, what I picked up when we did the +9 of California, the previous episode I'd looked at the California date. That would have been Blue Rabbit 6 episode. In the +6 of their date of birth, if you will, there's actually, from my previous reading on Blue Rabbit 6, when we looked at California's, Hollywood's, when we looked at Hollywood, Hollywood's date of birth, if you will, and in the +6, in the action, which I realized after the recording, which is in Blue Rabbit 6, there's actually triple 13 fours. Triple 13 fours. Now, I've mentioned this many times. When you see the 3 numbers, whatever the 3 numbers are, there's 3 of them in the first 2 rows. There's problems. Okay? There's an imbalance. It's almost like a maniacal focus, if you will. You can use all the horrible psychological names you want to call people that are just technically 0.01 away from being an animal. And I'll just note again, so there's the 13 fours, 22 4, 31 4. Now let's go back to the Pizzagate situation. So, okay, beg your pardon, to round off, if it is January the 6th that he died, it's actually worse than we thought, versus January the 4th, which in my case, well, be that as it may, it actually lines up even more perfectly within the 0 zone linked. There's other, as mentioned in previous episodes, if you're only watching now, watch the other rabbits. There's more going on behind the fire scenes, of course, yes. And identified. We have a portal sequence, which is sacrificial in many ways. And of course, we all know or been aware of Pizzagate and the children that are being harmed, unfortunately. The date that Edgar arrives in front of Comet Ping Pong, ironically, Comet Ping Pong in Washington, December 4, 2016. So I'm not going to get too heavy on the numbers. I read somewhere this guy was actually an actor. So what is going on here? So we've got the 12, 3, 4, 9. There we go again. 16, 7 in the day. So 16, 7 smacks familiar. Hidden 25, 7, 16, 7. That's too familiar, eh? Look at Hollywood's numbers here. 25, 7, 16, 7. Who's fooling who? So, in the +3 of the day of the event where he confronts, and he shoots a shot through the building or whatever, right? In the +3, we've got an operational number, 1910-1. Now, let me just say, from 1910-1 is not an individual number. 1910-1 can include an individual, yes, the 1. But when you got like 10, 1, and the combination of 1910-1, it is an operation at play involving more than 8, I would even go as far as to say more than 9 people. Because, for example, the number 14-5 speaks about a grouping, but less than 10 people. Now, when you get 1910-1, you start getting 10 plus people. So there's an operation in play. He is not acting alone, that is for sure. And the outcome then becomes also in 1910-1. So full operation going down here. Nice stage performance. We'll note there's a 34-7 there. So in the +9, that becomes a 43-7. So hoorah! Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Camera ready. Yes. Lights, camera, action. Big staging made to look like an assassination, or this lunatic is coming to come and get rid of. What is his name? I found his name, by the way. Unfortunately, it's terrible, terrible, terrible. Well, allegedly, I heard audio of, what's this, Anthony Weiner? Something to that effect. Excuse my pronunciation. Just bad. So in the +6, so here we go. In the +6, 31-4, 22-4, 13-4. Those are the numbers when he arrives on the day in the +6. So what do we see? January 6 column. In the +6, 13 4s, 22 4, 13 4 4. I'm being reminded, and I'm looking for it, beg your pardon. There's an exact number sequence like that with the 31. Where did I see it? Was it in the fire chart here? I beg your pardon, I'm recording this episode January 11. It is very late in the evening, 22:56, so going on to 11. Now, where did I see? Oh my God, it's in the Hollywood numbers. It's in the Hollywood numbers. In the +6, we have identical match in the +6, actually. Hollywood, I'll repeat, this is Hollywood. In the +6, hidden, 31-4, 22-4, double 13-4 conflict, actually. Pizzagate. We have the exact same position when Edgar, the actor, goes to Comet to play his role. Exact same numbers. What the hell is going on here? Interesting to note also another key date in the sequence of the Pizzagate scandal. I believe to be the Genesis date where the whole leak comes out about the email leak. October 30, 30 2016. So we have the presence of 10 1, 30 outcome 3, and a 9 on the top row. So that gives us actually a hidden 40 outcome 4. There's those pedo. I've got to keep it as cordial as possible, because that's also a tactic to make us not get the information out properly. Hidden 40 outcome 4, the fathers, so the Don Corleones of the pizzeria, who are based in high-powered places of office just around the corner, and our buddies on the West Coast. 31-4, 13-4. What is going on here? A direct match again. So we've got 3 dates. Let's do a recap. Genesis of the email leak. And the email leak was, of course, what's this? Anthony Weiner email leak date. We got the confrontation date at Comet. And we have the third, one could argue the original, same in the Hollywood date. Who's fooling who in the zoo? And here again, here's a perfect example, as treacherous as this is, but for those investigating crimes against children. When you see numbers around like 49, 13, 4, it is the same as I mentioned the number 29, 11, 2 at a crime scene as a heinous crime. 49, 13, 4 is as heinous, now involving children. 13, 4. 40 outcome 4, 22, 4, 13, 4, 4. Children. Sick, sick, sick motherfuckers. Is this not disgusting? We've got 3 solid dates, and that's not including his takedown data. We're talking when the email leaks happened, and we're talking the confrontation in front of Comet, and the date as registered for Hollywood pedophile motherfuckers. Mr. Smiley Face, according to the emails, was prone to order hot dogs from Comet Ping Pong. And hot dogs are boys, by the way. That was code deciphered from the emails for boys. Ping pong. All right, so we are living in interesting times, and one can imagine, I mean, let's look at this from, let's say if all of this is true, we are witnessing a change of guard, it's a new landscape that is about to happen. I was thinking about it this afternoon. Why would the cover-up and all of this bullshit going on the West Coast and all around, why is it happening on such a big scale? Imagine for a moment, this is what I was thinking this afternoon. Imagine for a moment the Republican Party is going to be in power for the next 12 years. Imagine that for a moment. It's a possibility, because Trump does his 4 years. So it's 4 years in the US, so South Africa's 5. Then Vance comes in, does his 2 terms back to back. That's effectively 12. It can happen. Why would they clean up house so intensely? Wouldn't life just continue as normal, regardless of leadership? Hollywood does what Hollywood does, allegedly, with their toxic popcorn. Sprinkle of cyanide on them motherfuckers. So why are they cleaning house so dramatically? What do they know that we don't know yet? Is the deal 3 terms in a row, 2 terms that they have to clean up so much? It's just a thought. Because what's happening there is a little bit dramatic and horrifying. So let's go on to the incumbent president for his second term. Donald Trump. I mentioned now, if you aren't aware, you can catch it on the previous episodes. January 9, 10, 11, I made orange. We know now, January 10, the court case, the hush money, business illegal, or whatever you want to call it. The whole day is full of illegalities. So much so that the whole system is out of kilter because there's too many 11s. So while the one may be a tinge of corrupt, obviously found guilty, the other side is also bending this way, that way, to bend it that way, this way. Do you know what I mean? Because he's not the citizen Donald Trump, who technically would have been arrested, or not arrested, or at least severe fine, or put in jail. And had Dirty Joe and his Pizzagate followers and their new medals of honor, had they been in term, there's a very good likelihood that Mr. T would have been in jail today, ordering KFC via the phone. So when the sentencing rang out, I did have a sigh of relief. And we can say, of course, are they going to be that stupid to throw everything at him to prevent him even from being inaugurated? I mean, JFK was in the middle of his presidency, or was president at the time when they took him out. Reagan was in his presidency, so hot potatoes going around. But I try to resolve the issue for me, but it still remains the same, unfortunately. And of course, we'll keep looking. I'm not trying to raise unnecessary alarm bells in the night. But the fact remains, the +6 of the inauguration and the 72-hour scan around it still remains the same. As far as the law goes, because he's now the incumbent president and now enjoys the privileges of the presidency, they can't arrest him or whatever penalties were possible, right? But I did sigh a sigh of relief, and one could say, of course, they weren't going to do anything. But let me just say, what made me a little bit hesitant was July 11, the next day. So we're currently in 11, right? So 12-3, we're an hour away, just under an hour away from 12. But these 12-3s speak about arrest. I suppose if there was a 12-3 on January 10, then he would have been arrested. So when you get these 11-2s, like we saw on the day that the bullet went past his ear, there's an 11-2, so it's 50-50. So on one hand, they could have giving him penalties, on the other hand not, right? So 50-50. Of course, unfortunately, when we get to Sunday, Monday, Blue Zone, these are all the pedo children numbers, unfortunately, so let's just pay attention there. All right, so this is the concern for me regarding Trump, and that is, yes, he got through the first hurdle. He has a hurdle. I marked it orange. There's potentially another issue January 15 in this zone. So we just be cautious. Just reminded myself of that sounded like, hey, what's up, folks? What's up, Doc? Oh, I just watched a video recently, like just before recording this. The Simpsons and their predictions. And I think I looked at the foundation dates of the Simpsons series, but I didn't really see anything. Maybe I'll look at it again now quickly, just as a quick sorbet between the serious stuff. So yeah, first episode. Hold on. I'm going to do a screen grab just so we know it's real time. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. I'm going to bring it in here. I watched so obviously we know the Simpsons have had their predictions, right? So here's the Simpsons. So if we zoom in, so here it is here. First episode, 17 December 1989. So we'll make a note of that. And then here is my metadata currently. So approaching midnight on the 11th into the 12th. I'll probably record this now and have a sleep edit, because I did go to sleep with the intention to wake up fresh now to do it, but which would have been early hours of the morning. But for some reason I woke up 2 hours early, or after 2 hours, and I couldn't get back to sleep. So here we are in a restless world like this is. All right, 17 December, that was from the Waterboys, if you know the Waterboys music. All right, December 17, 1989. 1989. So let's have a look at the Simpsons. Are they a group of psychics? Do they meditate before they create? Are they gurus in their own right? 10, 18, 27, 9. Oh, so there's 27, 9. That's a very good creation number, ironically. We see this in the super artists, Jimi Hendrix and the like, 27, 9. So there's some relevance there. 20. So we got a hidden 29, 11, 2. So we got probably hidden. What are the? You remember the movie where we got those three psychics, futuristic Tom Cruise, and he needs to save the one bloody fish cakes. That one. Do they have hidden psychics working for them? Just asking. 11-2. So hidden 29-11-2. So remember, 9 is we can say divine. 9 divine, but it's also the idea. So 2, 9 is they engaging, communicating about a divine idea, 11.2. So it's almost like they're selling the idea. Outcome to 11.2. 17.8 on the day, so the day that it's published. So in other words, the first screening is like when the child is born, right? 17.8 is the ability to communicate. 7, we can say artistry, but 7 is also psychic. So this is, so this may be, I'm glad I'm looking at this again with fresher, newer, updated, upgraded. 56, 11.2. So you got a lot of these 11.2s happening, huh? We don't necessarily have to put out all the 11.2s. If need be, we will. There's a 47, 11.2. I figured it out. In the +3, these 11.2s become 14.5 in the +3. And 14.5 in the intention is about mediumship. So they're definitely dabbling. Let's have a look here. 6. So in the +6, there would be a 17.8 in the middle, communication about psychic information. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. In the +9, we'd get 65, 11.2. 65, I'm just going to type it out here, just a visual thing for me. Now you see, I couldn't look at pictures, but I need to see the number. 65, 11.2 is the human race, 6, human race, and the difficulties around human race, 5. 65, 11.2, so that's in the +9, all is revealed. And then we have a 38, 11.2, so that's community communication. So there's definitely behind the scenes, in my opinion, of the Simpsons, the intention is exactly to do what they're doing. Because there's been a number of examples, and as mentioned, I was watching that video. And it's quite curious that, I mean, there's even a scene about Donald Trump. There's a couple of scenes that have been kind of spot on recently about the hurricanes in Florida, isn't it? So what is going on? So the question is, we can go a little bit deeper if you want. The question is, if that is the case, that because another answer is, and I'll answer the question, but there's something to consider. Oh God, what was I going to say? Because on the other hand, what I was thinking before, which, you know, were they just lucky, or is there another, let's say another boardroom with decision makers? They filtered down their intentions, what they want to do in society, because we know there's a hidden 10-1. And in fact, let's go back to Donald Trump's sequences here. When we, like the day of the judgment, right, or the sentencing, the day starts with a 10-1. So that's even before the sun rises, right? So here's the group, let's call them the group, running, pulling strings in the background. And I'm not talking about smiley face, and I'm not talking about Biden. There's others, okay? They're obviously using, like Inception, like MK Ultra tactics, sending messaging through what seemingly would be a married with children type element show, right? Very similar. Homer, same as that I was going to say slapgat. If you're South African, you'll know that. But couch potato, married with kids, couch potato, and then the Simpsons, Bart, also couch potato vibes. Maybe explores a little bit more than Mr. But certainly, let's see if they've got a 1910-1 on their scale here. Let me just see here. 1910-1 is your inception number. What are they trying to instill or implant in their messaging into communities? So 3. So let's talk about the mediumship number. So in the +3, all these 11 2s become 14-5, which is medium. So they're obviously tapping into something here. What is their source? We ask ourselves. Okay, so definitely, I thought let's just add that as a bit of sorbet. Simpsons, definitely intention is to do what they're doing. They've got psychic numbers around, mediumship numbers, and of course, the people that manage the world as we know it behind the curtains of the American flag. And around the world, when you look at things like G20, the G7, and all these guys, they're all there. Watched another video as well in the build-up, Notre Dame, because the Simpsons also, or they say it was fake. They say the Notre Dame one was fake around the Simpsons. But it just made me think again about Notre Dame, the French president, and, everyone having fun there, huh? What a tea party, motherfuckers. All right, so what else is on the agenda for the podcast? That was pretty much it. I didn't, there's a lot of other news going on, and it's not making the top line, unfortunately. So we've got to get back onto real cases as well, because real people matter. And, in the build-up to the inauguration and all the shenanigans going on around the world, shame on them, man. Shame on them. But don't you think it's interesting that they're cleaning house so badly? So badly. I wonder what the Simpsons would predict, what would happen in the next elections and the elections after that. Because I think the people are upset, and they've had enough of what's been going on. And when we look at things like Hollywood, as mentioned, well-produced content, great, that's one thing. Then the other 90% is that we of course, we are being manipulated, programmed. You can only have this taste of programming, this amount of sugar, this amount of what. This is why I say, I will take this to into my next life, and that is, evil is even blind to itself. So when things are, it's again, Babylon is on fire, Babylon is falling, right? And we are witnessing it. And we got to, detox ourselves, deprogram what's been messaged to us from as far back as we can remember. I had an interesting comment about the Rosemary's Baby movie and all that, and blah blah, fish cakes and blah. If evil, this is the thing. when things are good for evil's perspective, in other words, there's chaos, mayhem, murder, and all this bullshit, right? And their pockets are full of wads of cash that we give them, that we pay at the office, ticket office, when we pay when we download, when we pay when we watch, fat cat pockets, and seemingly Babylon is everyone's enjoying the filth and all that comes with it. The days and life is good. But one day is one day. And they know this. They know. They've always known that one day is one day. And we are witnessing that day. The concern, obviously, is that, right, where does it end? When does all the cleaning and all this bullshit stop? And to what corners of the world are they going to migrate to? Macedonia? It was an interesting comment. I've always known it as vampires, right? And vampire movies. But for some reason, leading up to just before the fire and during the fire, kept on saying vampiri. It was coming through me so strong. Motherfuckers. And what a world we are living in. And we can argue on one extent, and mainly, a lot of it is man-made, or in other words, let me rather use human-made, whether under the guise or influence of 17.8, the 14.5s, how they perpetrate their evil deeds, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, motherfuckers, but rather expose them. Alright, I've been hovering to see how are we going to fill and what will be this square here. I did want to share a few things about personal experience related to the metaphysical world. When we're dealing with these kind of issues, and on a personal level, it's not easy. As much as some of this information, some are known about this information, some don't. It has a negative impact. That's why we got to take detox days, take breaks, because we're dealing with bad things. And as you mature in your psychic, spiritual world, and mature, it has nothing to do with age, maturity. It is when you are ready to handle what you need to handle. Let's look at it that way. And if at some point you're going to handle big things, there's progression through the ranks, if you will. There's steps. You're dealing with this and this and this, and then you progress and go on to other things. I've had very strange, I was thinking about it the other day, my very first recollection of any kind of metaphysical, spiritual thing in my life was the presence of a spirit around me when I was very young. I could feel it, I could see it. And my parents told me that my father's parents, because they died a year before I was born, they were seen standing over our cots and beds, etc., when we were small. So the presence of, let's say, spirit people, and even, dark energies have been around me when I was very young. And of course, as I matured and grew within age, because When I was about 14, 15, I started losing the psychicness, if you will, or it wasn't coming as natural. But I became a teenager, right? I was going through life, and when I was 20, 21, it came back. I had quite a dramatic personal experience. But immediately after that experience, my psychic awareness came back. I woke up the next day after a tragic situation. Well, I'll tell you what it is. I mentioned this before, and this is why the MK Ultra and LSD programming is not great. That always irked me. There were about 10 of us during my varsity days. There was like a group. Our grouping were, because I was mastering in psychology, so the digs we were living in, the people we were hanging around were either, let's say, wannabe psychologists, psychiatrists, and doctors. We were traveling in that kind of group, right? And one night, the psychiatrist, the guy that was studying medicine to become, I won't mention names, to become a doctor, as we found out, tested LSD on us. We knew we were taking LSD, but what they failed to tell us, what kind of dosage it was and what was it. So we took microdots. Now, if you've never taken LSD, and if you take LSD for the first time, I would highly not recommend it. But microdots, you're talking military grade. And they were double dosing. They were double dosed microdots. And, even if you took half of that, you would be off your nutter. So when you look at things like MK Ultra, the use of LSD as mind-altering drugs, and we got this wet behind the ears wannabe psychiatrists, and we can go deep into the issues around psychiatry and how the barbaric system started, but ultimately depended on chemicals, right? So needless to say, I had a bad trip, but ironically, when I woke up the next morning, I had a vision. And it was that vision that propelled me to where I am today. It is exactly that vision that became the genesis of where I am today, media world and psychic world. So we take the good out of the bad, but I tell you what, it was not pleasant. And of course, when I got heavier and deeper into producing in my TV capacity, so I started investigating MK Ultra, how psychiatry began, all these things that people think are games and used to manipulate people. So I come from a background of experience, and not I watched the movie, so therefore I know what I'm talking about, right? So interesting. Be that as it may, I want to share another experience, and it deals with mediumship. It must have been around 2005. Anyway, somewhere around about there. As mentioned, when I was younger, I had the presence of spirits around me. So the one morning, not to be graphic, but I was getting ready for work, getting cleaned up. But this woman came running towards me. Like I was watching it happen in real time. This woman came running towards me, which was physically impossible because I was in not a huge bathroom, not exactly where she was running down a passage towards me, right? I was in the shower. She was running towards me and banged on the shower door. And I'm thinking, like, but I saw this as as a woman running down, coming to bang on the shower door. I didn't see the shower door. Then behind it, there's actually a wall with a door, right? And I glimpsed her as she approached the glass door, and she banged on this glass door, or the shower door. So physically nothing happened, but she was banging on the door and covered in blood. Very horrific scene that she went through in the real, actually, and I'll tell you. But it felt like she banged on the door. I got such a fright. At the time, I didn't know what the hell was going on, right? Midway through the day, I get a call from my mother, or I called my mother, one of the two. She tells me her next door neighbor had been murdered that Sunday. So it was Monday, getting ready for work that morning. She had been murdered that Sunday afternoon. And wow, man. She's fine now, she's fine. But, she had been murdered. She was a lawyer. And obviously someone got to her, right? And quite an intense moment, actually. So, as much as there's good and bad, not bad, but there's some certain experiences that we have to go through as psychics, mediums, whatever. But they're not exactly always pleasant. And particularly when you're dealing with these Comet motherfuckers. The heinous audio that I heard will stay with me for the rest of my life, unfortunately. And they say you can't undo what you hear and see. So ladies and gentlemen, please take the time to clear the mind, clear the air, watch a comedy, have a laugh, and let's get back to the fight. Bye for now.